So just to knock this one out real quick, guys, not really too sure if you guys are really interested in this thing much, but just to knock it out real quick, just skip a few seconds into the video until I talk about the next car if you want to skip this one. But if you're here to watch it, I'm gonna go over it real quick. So this is actually the second one I've actually ever owned, and it's a SEMA X8C. It's kind of toy grade, kind of hobby grade because you can get the parts. It actually, now that I'm thinking about it, actually is hobby grade drone. Just one of the cheaper ones. This is probably the basic. This is like the most basic SEMA drone you can actually get. They come as this with some blade protectors, and it does kind of emulate the style of a DJI Phantom drone, which I think looks actually really cool. And they also give you this little 2S LiPo, which is actually pretty nice. And it actually is a lithium polymer. It's not actually a I'm not actually too sure if this is a lithium polymer or lithium ion, but either way, it gives plenty of power for this thing. And they are brushed motors, by the way, so yeah, more torque and speed. But it does do its job though. And the transmitter actually is 2.4 gigahertz, which is actually crazy. But I do have sometimes I have a hard time getting this thing on. And yes, there are actual batteries in it right now. So usually if I smack it, it'll turn on. But that's pretty much it for this thing though. So moving on to the next car, I guess. So here we have a Losi 8E ready to run. So you guys have probably seen a ton. If you've been following me for a while, you've seen a ton of this car. This is my first, or actually I'm sorry. This is my second ever A-scale buggy, and to be honest, I've had a ton of fun with it. I've had it for over a year now, and it's still going strong, crazily. I'm probably never going to throw this thing out. I'm going to race it until it can't go anymore. Old Town Road reference, but yeah. So getting into the upgrades a little bit. This is one kind of has a lot. It has a what the heck is going on with the camera? Huh? Kind of weird. Anyway, going into the mods of this thing. I have changed the body, I have changed the shock towers, I have changed the shocks, I have changed the turnbuckles, I have changed the wing, I have changed the tires, and I've also changed the stuff on the inside, so let's get into that. But if you do want to take a look at a more in-depth video of this, I have a video of me doing my 1 year overview, and this thing is far from stock, I'll tell you that. Let's get the body off. Have a Hobbywing Max 8 ESC. And I also have a Castle Creations 2200 kV Mamba Monster motor. And I also have an Savox SC1258 TG steering servo. Plenty of torque for me, not too much, but plenty good. Oh yeah, and I also have these custom wheel nuts, or not custom, just some cheap Amazon wheel nuts. So that really basically covers it for this thing. I've done a ton of videos on this thing. Don't really want to take too much longer explaining stuff. So that's it for this one. Moving on to the next. Alright, so next up we have an Exceed RC Mad Torque, a 1/8 scale crawler. So as you guys can see, this thing is a bit of a beast. Well, it doesn't really look like a beast on camera, but trust me guys, in real life it is massive. It uses 17mm hex wheels, and also uses some A-scale tires. I think I could actually bolt these onto a truggy if I wanted to, or a buggy even. So yeah, so this thing is kind of, I've upgraded a little bit, but I really haven't done too much to it, and it is currently broken. And really all it needs is a new receiver so that I can use a radio inside. So yeah, because I don't know, I've just had a lot of bad luck with radios and receivers in this thing for some reason. So can I get this back? There we go. So yeah, I got this thing on my birthday last year, and just because I wanted to try out crawling, and honestly, I like crawling. Just this one is kind of cheap, so it kind of breaks down easy. But the spare parts are actually incredibly cheap. And lights flickering. Let me adjust that. There we go. So for the servo, it's not stock. This is a waterproof Spektrum servo. It's an S605, which are really terrible, and it's recently stripping out. As you guys can hear the clicks and the. So yeah, and most of the time on the site where you get these things from, nitrorcx.com, they're most likely going to be out of stock for parts on this thing. But it is incredibly cheap. At the time that I got it for $169. And to be honest, it was just a great deal. And I mean, I really like this thing though. It's a great crawler. Too big to go on most crawler tracks, but I would really like to take you know, take this thing in the natural terrains. But it's running also these incredibly cheap motors. These are actually only $7 motors that they put in these things, but I've used these so much, and I think that they're honestly really, really nice. They perform not as really advertised, but they do perform as advertised. They have a ton of torque though, so that's pretty good. And the drivetrains are incredibly tough too. So this thing is ready pretty much for anything. It's not, you can't bash it like the TRX4, but you can have a ton of fun with it like an actual crawler. So that covers it for this thing. Let me get the body clips on real quick. Well, I'll do that in a second. So moving on to the next though. Alright, so moving on to the big boys. These are almost the last ones. I still got to do a small RC after this, but here is one of the bigger ones that I have in my collection. This is a Losi 8T RTR, and it's got its host of upgrades and a lot of changes I've made to it, but overall it's mostly stock, I'd say. So first thing you can obviously see is that the body's different, and that's kind of what I like to do when most of my stuff is to do custom bodies, and this time I did a bright green, which I think really looks nice, especially because it's nitro. There's the big head, the .28 Dynamite engine, which is just unbelievably powerful. Tons of power in that motor, just a ton of power, just unbelievable. It's just crazy how much that motor has, considering it's only a Dynamite. But for the outside, it's running basically stock everything, except for, the tires are stock. The shock towers are not. These are Team Losi Racing shock towers. The reason why I upgraded those early on was really because they really needed to, because the front one kept bending like unbelievably. Like I remember the first time I took this thing out, and I don't remember crashing into anything anything hard, but when I came back, I noticed, and I wasn't running the body or anything, and I noticed that the front tower was just bent like at a 45-degree angle or something crazy like that. And this is like when it had those 60-61 shock towers, but now I've upgraded to the 70-75 ones, which have honestly really helped quite a lot. And as you guys can see, it is very, very dusty and dirty, and I am going to be cleaning the air filter out after this video. So I take good care of my RCs, guys. So now that we're looking in here, you can see that there are some changes made to this. So the first one, as you guys can clearly see, the shiniest one on here is this Novorossi pipe, and I don't know what it's called because I got it for free at a big RC race that I went to. They were having a spring cleaning, and I was able to snag this thing. I got it at Thornhill RC racing circuit, same place where I got that Losi body, that one right there. So yeah, I also did get some tires there while I was at it, but anyway, that's not about that. The fuel that we're running in this thing, I've got 20% nitro with a 9% oil content, and yeah, I did take it out today, and that's kind of why it is dusty as it is. But Dynamite .28 engine, so not really much to say there because there's really not a whole lot of information on it, but other than that, it is crazy powerful. For the clutch system, I'm running a ProTech 14-tooth clutch bell, and to be honest, guys, that's really upped this thing in performance, speed-wise. It's incredibly fast. It has incredible amounts of power since I put that one in, and I've also put in a steel flywheel with 2 steel shoes and 2 aluminum shoes. And my phone is dying, so I gotta get this quick. But standard servos, which still haven't taken a dump on me, even though this 605 one is still going. Probably because I did adjust the settings in the radio, which I highly recommend you do, because these things, this throttle servo on the Losis can really stress themselves out under pressure and under a lot of stress. So I recommend you turn down the braking EPA. So I mean, other than that, I really don't think that there's that much more to say on this car, but it's been a blast. Oh yeah, by the way, I didn't get any switch. I straight up just left it like that because I actually got a lot of comments after I put up that video, and they actually said that do not actually use a switch. And at the time, I was kind of surprised of why they wouldn't use a switch, but then I realized Well, yeah, if the battery's still plugged in, you know, it can still drain power. So yeah, that's why I didn't really do it. And it's a better system overall. So that covers it for the Losi 8 Nitro Truggy. So moving on to the next.